All right, so I found an awesome new spot to fly. We're here in Manayunk, just outside the city of Philadelphia, and I figured we could kill two birds with one stone. We could explore the area from the air, check out what's around here, and see if there's anything cool to fly around. And we could also take the Osmo Action 3, mount it on top of the FPV drone, and see how this camera looks from the air. So Manayunk here used to be a place of industry, a place of work. They have a lot of old factories here that kind of stretch throughout this entire hillside. All those factories, though, recently have been turned into apartments and condos. So this really is a spot where people come to live, eat, and shop. There's really not a whole lot of work that gets done here. And behind me is one of the abandoned factories. Now, I don't know much about what this spot used to be. Again, this is kind of like my first time being down this far. And as you can see, I mean, there's pretty much nobody around. There is a SEPTA bus back there. It seems like this is like a turnaround spot for some of the larger buses, but regardless, it's very quiet down here, which is awesome. I mean, this is like the perfect spot to fly. Now, we have already seen some FPV footage or aerial footage from the Osmo Action 3. I posted that in my review video, but I was using the Avata, and the Avata, in my opinion, really isn't going to be the best to mount an action camera on top of, just because it's a Cinewhoop. It can't really handle that much weight, and I could feel when I was flying the drone around that like it didn't enjoy having the extra weight on top. And I guess what I mean by that is like flying with it was slow, flying with it was a little bit unprecise. Like my drone kept pushing to the right anytime I wanted to fly straight. So just really not a good experience putting an action camera on top of a Cinewhoop like the Avata. So now we're gonna try something a little bit beefier here in the FPV drone. I'm in this parking lot right now and there's just like trash spewed all over the place. Somebody probably came here and just dumped stuff out, but hey, that's typical Philly for you. All right, so it's been a little while since I've actually flown the FPV drone because I've spent so much of my time flying the Avata. I also feel absolutely ridiculous with these goggles on because of how small the new DJI goggles 2 are. But nonetheless, let's go ahead here and take off. That's another great thing about the, whoa. It's like just so much more powerful than the Avata though. All right, so that's a good thing about these FPV drones though, is you can just take off in sport and then flip into manual. Awesome. All right, so let's do a little fly over here. So I think that this building over here is completely abandoned. I do see some cars in there. There might be some workers, but other than that, I mean, I don't think there's anything actually going on here. The one thing that always messes me up is as I talk, my goggles bounce up and down and it makes it hard to see things. Now, we're dealing with Rocksteady 3 in the Osmo Action 3 here, which means that we should get some more stable video. People really just did not like the camera on the FPV drone here. I'm kind of included in that. I mean, it was not the best camera, but also I don't think that it deserved to be totally, you know, ousted. Now, I know that there are some wires here too, because I did a little examining. Like, see that wire straight ahead? That's another thing too, is like, with the Avata, you'd be able to see those wires so much more clear. All right, we're gonna do a little loop around here once we come back over. So this is pretty much the extent of what we're gonna be flying, this building right here. And this drone just feels so much more powerful. Even with the Action 3 on top. All right, let's get a little flow going here. These goggles though, man, they're just so much different than those than the second generation goggles. The main thing I wanna see here, and you guys are seeing it obviously firsthand as I fly around, is the detail of the Action 3 with everything that's on to the top of the building here. That's the one thing that the FPV drone here lacks a little bit, is that detail. Look, there's some wires. All right, so wires are coming. Whoa, there's some wires. I definitely split them. Oh man, that would not be fun. You know, obviously in the past couple of videos, we've gone looking for drones. I don't feel like looking for a drone today. That's the last thing that I want to do. The one thing that is nice about the FPV drone is that, you know, if I wanted to, I'd be able to go and change my gimbal pitch to fly slower, but I feel like I'm stuck at 25 degrees here because I've got the Action 3 on top. Did you see that bird? I'm starting to break up signal here a little bit, but I just saw a bird very close to the drone. We're already down to about 64%. We are moving pretty good though, I mean 60 miles an hour. What's great about this drone, man, is when you put an action camera up on top of it, you can barely even feel that there's anything there. Like the drone flies basically completely similar. But again, I mean, like with the Avata, I feel like I'd be a little bit more inclined to be riskier with it. Like look, there's that opening right there. I'd probably try to fly through the building. I would do a little bit of exploring. So if you guys are familiar with my first flight videos, I usually am actually flying a little bit further up the river, or I guess you can consider it down the river. So I'm down the river when I do my first flight videos, and if all goes well here, I think I'm gonna come here to do my first flight videos instead of going down there. And by if all goes well, I pretty much mean if I don't get kicked out or if I don't get some homeless person rolling up on me. Those are kind of the two things that I'm worried about. I don't know why I'd get kicked out of a spot like this. Again, there's like absolutely nobody down here. Look at that line right through there. All right, I'm gonna spin around because I wanna kind of go through those buildings if possible. Yeah, but the biggest thing I'm worried about is like some homeless person rolling up, because that would just be kind of annoying. But there's a lot to explore here, and I feel like I've done everything that I can in my previous first flight spot, so why not switch it up a little bit? I missed it by just a little bit, but you know what, we'll just keep surfing down. Gotta watch the wires. I'm gonna fly up over them. Let's come back down. Man, this drone is just so much faster than the Avata. So much more responsive too. I don't mean responsive in like a bad way, not like the Avata's not responsive, but this drone just has so much more power. There's Manayunk. So, you know, there's a lot of factories out here. Obviously lots of trains that come through here. All those factories turned into apartments. All right, now we're at 36%. You know what? I'm thinking we should bring it back. The battery did die a little bit faster than expected because of probably having that extra weight. Let's see if we can track this car. That'll be our last thing. We're gonna come down and track this car. He is probably gonna be going up over the bridge, and there are wires over the bridge. And I'm going too fast, but that's because I do not have the ability to change my gimbal pitch. Oh well. We'll do one more loop around and then we'll bring her back. So what do you guys think? New first flight spot here. It's nice and quiet. I hear a helicopter overhead, so I'm gonna keep it low. It's nice and quiet. I think that there's a lot to explore. Lots of places to fly around to. I feel like sometimes at that other spot, like on top of the parking garage, I'm disrupting people, but here, there's just nobody. All right, let's bring her in here. Another nice thing is flip it into sport mode, bring it down and land. Haha. All right. So pretty good flight. Haven't flown the FPV drone in a while. Again, it's been mostly Avata, but for the action camera, testing that out, mounting it on top, this is a way better choice than the Avata. So let's get back to the studio, sit down, and check out what some of this footage looks like. Ooh. All right, so I will not take up much more of your guys' time. I just want to sit down and quickly discuss the footage that we captured here on the Action 3. Of course, you guys were able to watch the footage throughout the entire flight, but I was looking through my goggles, so I quickly just want to give you some of my final thoughts here. I'm looking right now at the comparison that we did between the Action 3 and the FPV drone, and I can see where people are coming from that say like, hey, the FPV drone video isn't that horrible, and really at the end of the day, it's going to get you by, right? I mean, if you want to just fly stock on your FPV drone with the camera that's on the drone itself, it's going to give you a great looking video to post on YouTube, Facebook, or any of those websites, right? Any sort of social media website. But still, I think the Action 3 is going to just give you a little bit more punch with your video. I think that the quality looks just a little bit better. I think that the bitrate is higher to give you more flexibility when color grading in post. And overall, it's definitely going to be an upgrade. Now, personally, moving forward, whenever I am flying my FPV drone here, I'll definitely be shooting with the Action 3 mounted on top because it's just a better overall camera than what comes on the FPV drone itself. I mean, you've got a higher bit rate so that you can push the files around more in post. You've got Rocksteady 3, so the footage looks more stable. The field of view is wider at 155 degrees, and the video quality is just overall better. This is the same sensor that comes in the Pocket 2, so it's an IMX 686 sensor. So it's a 64 megapixel quad Bayer sensor that then downsamples to 12 megapixels or 4K video. So it is just tack sharp when you look at the video, and in my opinion, is definitely a worthy upgrade over the camera that's in the FPV drone itself. Now, the drone I will not be flying the Action 3 on top of is the Avata. It's just too small, in my opinion. It's not powerful enough to lift a full-sized action camera. If anything, I might put the Action 2 on top because it's very small, but in my opinion, the camera on front of the Avata is good enough to the point where I'm gonna get by with that video. Anyway, guys, hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts of the Action 3. Will you be picking it up for your FPV drone, whether it's the Avata, the DJI FPV drone, or one that you've built yourself? Anyway, thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.